How can I help? Who has a question?
It's not a question, it's just something I wanted to share.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm falling in love with God.
A bit louder.
I just feel like I'm falling in love with God.
Oh yes? That's very good. I'm so happy to hear that. Tell us how it happened, or how it is happening.
I know you said not to keep a report card or a spreadsheet of time spent in the...
This one is okay.
Okay. Time spent in the sadhana, cooking, and time spent in the contemplation, the eating. And I've been trying to do at least 2 hours of the eating,
Very good.
as well as some of the sadhana. So
Very good.
I think that's it.
That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Very good. When we are empty of ourselves, it is natural to fall in love with God, in a way falling in love with our true self. So the prerequisite for the eating is to be empty of ourselves, anchored in a deep love for God, can be very helpful, and that love just deepens. The more you remember Him, the more you love Him, the deeper you may feel He loves you back as well. Actually, we cannot even, I don't know, this is true, just coming to say, we don't even know what kind of spirituality we truly enjoy unless we first become empty of ourselves. Whether we are a bhakta or a jnani also, shows up in our emptiness. Deepest insights show up there. Deepest love shows up there. Devotion shows up there. Of course, the pathway to that place also may be defined as a particular path. Are you able to hear like this? So the pathway may be as well. But what the Lord inspires us to do in that quiet, holy place, then the world may use the label of bhakta or jnani. Right? Okay, what else? Gift Karuna bhi hai.
I can relate to what you are saying. I feel like I always start with inquiry. This is how I feel myself in this worldly life, I guess. Kind of practical approach. But as soon as the truth touches my heart,
Yeah.
I'm always surprised how this heartful part takes over. It just all I want is to give everything to this. Yeah. Kind of another layer or something. A more beautiful one.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a beautiful, beautiful report. Thank you. Thank you. And we're not, one moment, so, and we're not yet making a position even about that. We are just allowing the love to guide us. And you may find that tomorrow or next year, you may be from that loving, holy place. You may be asking yourself the question again, who am I? So it's very beautiful because both are together. Both bring us to His holy chamber in our heart, the true intuition flowers, where He is teaching us both the highest insight and the highest love. It's very good.
Not really a question, but
Is it on?
yeah. Can you? This morning, when you asked us to make a promise to God, not to think about or not to worry about the topic for the day,
Very good.
and I feel like I broke that promise,
That's all right.
and now I feel guilty about that.
No.
But
While it lasted, how was it?
good.
Good. That's important. Because
Lasted
you
maybe-
taste how it is. We taste how it is. The promise is just to strengthen our intention. And we can all promise never to be tempted by Maya again. But can we live up to that promise? We can't. I decide never going with the mind again, never going with Maya, never to be tempted by any of that. But I feel often, that is to give power to the intention. I say never. Because if you already say, I'm going to fail, I know, then there's no real power in that. So the idea is not guilt, but to reinforce the intention again.
I tried to
You
do
can
that.
reduce it a bit if there's too much echo.
I tried to renew the intention, but it wasn't really working. I don't know.
Let's see now. Let's renew it now. Don't go there. It can feel a bit strange, but then the mind calls us with conclusions and interpretations. You just have to get used to letting them go. Too uncomfortable?
No, it's like It's a bit like, I feel if I try to intend not to do something, like that will be even more attractive for my mind to go there.
Who's saying that? So again, coming from here. So, know that you notice that there are two forces at play. One is attention, and the second is belief. So if I tell you, don't bring your attention to an orange, it comes. Don't bring your attention, the famous example being, don't bring your attention to the pink elephant. So it comes. But if I say, don't believe you're an orange, or don't believe you're a pink elephant, it's easier, isn't it? So what I'm asking for is not a withdrawal of attention, it's a withdrawal of belief, which is much easier than attention. And if it is still difficult, use your prayer or use your inquiry. Maybe it is higher to use the prayer. Maybe it is higher to use the inquiry, whatever tool. Maybe just use your love for God and remain anchored in that. And very simple is just keep your forehead relaxed. If your only intention is to keep your forehead relaxed, everything else happens on its own. Try. Just keep your forehead, this part. Usually we are squeezing some juice out of our mind there. So you just keep it relaxed. And you don't have to understand anything. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to resolve anything. And our faith helps us. If you remember that this is, even Maya is God's Maya, then God is controlling it. What do we have to do about anything? And be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be forgiving with yourself. There's a difference between making excuses for ourselves and being forgiving with ourselves. So don't allow the mind to make excuses to run away from God. But once we fall, remember that all of us fall. There's nobody in this room who doesn't fail at this. I fail 100 times every day, but I try to get up. That's all. And then it becomes more and more natural. Because it's a completely new way of life. We spent all our lives since we were probably 2 years old to where we are now, living in this way where the mind seems like ourselves, the voice of me, and guiding us, telling us what to do, telling us right from wrong. Now suddenly, so we've used crutches all our lives, and suddenly this strange man comes to you and says, no, you don't need them, leave it. You see? So it takes some time to get that confidence to just leave it. So the most valuable thought that you feel it offers you, inquire into its nature and see that it's not true. And if it is true, then only God's will makes it true. So if God's will is making it true, then we don't have to contribute to His will. In the sense that if your mind is being very spiritual, for example, and saying, oh, but even using words of satsang, no? So let's take this for example. I said, promise that you will not worry about the topic for the day which your mind is giving you. Now the mind can use that itself to oppress you by saying, see, you promised, you're not doing well, you're doing badly. So that is the checker guy, the spiritual advisor sitting in your head who takes the words of satsang and pretends to help you, but actually oppresses you again in a new spiritual way. So just whatever it is, just let it go. Unless it is God, it is a remembrance of God who leads you to, which leads you to the holy place within. So if it is God's name, if it is Ram 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 or Ma Ma Ma, whatever it may be, if it brings you to that heart temple, then it is fine. And it's a lifetime project. So although you hear that it has to be done instantly, because instantly it has to be done, for us to say that we led a spiritual life, needs a lifetime to pass before it can be said. Sometimes, every time actually, every day life gives us particular situations. But remember that the antidote to every situation is God's presence. Otherwise it is situation after situation after situation after situation, topic after topic after topic after topic. There is no end to it. So leave everything to God and allow God to move you, whatever you take you yourself to be. Some may take God's body to be the entire universe. So allow Him to move the universe which He is. Is this body not contained in that universe? It is contained. Do you feel that this whole play is moving, but the non-existent ego can decide that I will move in a different way? No, not really. And yet, because love is not forced, God doesn't force us to love Him. He gives us the seeming choice, which is an important seeming choice to make, which is to love Him. What to do with the ones that we love in the world? If you can't hand over, if that love doesn't emanate from God's love and God's will moving you in that way, if it is not a subset, a smaller part of the greater love, the universal love for God, then it is a worldly attachment. Love is not love unless it is about God. Yeah. So, in the two force fields of Maya and Atma, what are the representations? The representations are me or God. Maya is the me coming. Yeah? Atma is when we focus on God. So, now, then which constructs are valuable for us? Which notions, which piece of language, which message is valuable for us? Which reminds you to go towards God. And what is not valuable for us? That which becomes about me. So the words of Satsang can be used either way. Can be used as spiritual pride, conceptual understanding. So don't get into any intellectual spirituality. Keep your spirituality really simple. Simpler it is, the less you will become proud about it, and the more effective it will be to keep you innocent for God. Innocent for God is very close to empty for God. Okay? And spiritually, to conceptually become a Pandit is very far from God. Okay? To know a lot, okay, is not really close to God. And why do you need God for? You already know everything. So remain innocent, remain simple. Nisargadatta Maharaj is such a simple man. And in education, in lifestyle, in work, everything. You can't imagine in the line of holy sages like Yajnavalkya and Dattatreya, there's a simple beedi seller who has not completed his education, maybe 4th standard, 5th standard, something, if at all. And here, what he's sharing from his heart, from that holy place, is guiding people every day on the path of Advaita Vedanta. Which is so amazing, isn't it? Because once you see it in the heart, not as perception, but once you see the truth, you recognize the truth in your heart, then to speak about it doesn't need any reference to what we've understood in the past. It is fresh and alive. Easier than counting the people sitting in front of you is to narrate the truth about what is happening truly inside. So, yeah. So remain simple, and if your aspiration is to share God, then He will provide the words. He will provide the insight. All the words will also be given to you. So, remember that the intention of the pointer is to not make you into somebody special, but lead you towards innocence and towards God. And like Saskia said, the more time you spend eating, and we'll talk about eating again, some of you may not know what I'm saying. The more time you spend eating, all the right qualities will also show up for you. All the virtues, patience, faith, everything will come. So most of us in the world, when we are thinking about spirituality, we are thinking about the active doing part of spirituality. To take God's name, to do the inquiry, to do our reading, whatever the practice may be. But that is the cooking part. It's very important to cook, because if you don't cook, then what will you eat? But because this world is full of doership and activity and progress and ambition and things like that, we think the cooking part is it. But if you never eat the food, we were talking about it the other day, that this food must be eaten fresh. God must be eaten fresh. God must be tasted fresh. So if you just kept doing, who am I, who am I, who am I? Huh? But you never actually waited and checked. You didn't let the question propel you deep within into insight. Or you kept doing prayer, you kept doing that, but you never actually meet spirit. Then we are tending towards spirituality, but we're not actually becoming spiritual. There is no spirituality without Atma. And also it is a sign of pride. We may not realize it. But if you just do, and you feel like, what can God do now? I have done. So why don't we take out at least a little bit of time and say, okay, now God, you show me what is your will. If in a relationship you're the only one talking, then where will that relationship go? So what is God trying to teach you? What is He trying to show you? So how to do the eating? By being empty of ourselves. The whole cooking is so that we can become empty of me. And to remain, to abide empty of me is the eating. And where He takes us is His will. But can we be empty for Him? Can we trust Him? Without being demanding, you have to do this for me, you have to show me who I am. Maybe all that is part of the cooking, it's fine. But once you come to the eating, no intention left, innocent like an infant, simple. The more time you spend like this, the more you make yourself available to God. Saint Teresa of Avila has made a promise to us. She said, when you leave yourself, then He works in your heart. Can there be a greater promise? He works in your heart. What does He do? He cleans you up. He bathes you from inside, like the mother bathing a child. She bathes you from inside, cleans you up, all your pride and lust and all of these things which make it about me. Get cleaned up, patience grows, faith grows. And then insight flowers, Atmagyan, self-knowledge, love flowers, true love, unconditional, where we are able to say that, God, I belong to you, and I know that you belong to me. So do your practices. It's very good to cook and also leave yourself empty. If it becomes difficult, if you get distracted while being empty, then do remind yourself of God's name again, or ask yourself, who am I again? See, return to that quiet place. Don't let your pride come into the picture that I am able to eat without cooking. I don't need any practice now. You see? It's not true. At least I have not seen that to be true for anyone, especially not for this one, at least. Sometimes by God's grace you get moments where you could be caught up in some worldly thing and suddenly He pulls you into the heart. That's a gift. That's not something we can do. The other thing to be careful about is expectation during emptiness, because, Ananta says, this will happen, I'm just sitting here getting bored, nothing is happening. You see? And that is very good for humility. God knows how much to show us, to give us. He knows if He gives us too much, suddenly we'll get very proud immediately. So He knows best. He also knows when to make us proud and get slapped. So it's not that He won't make us proud. So all that learning process is important for us, but we can trust Him. There is no guarantee, and that is why spirituality is the most crushing for the ego, because no matter what you do, ultimately it is a question of grace. What He provides to you is His grace, His mercy. We are never entitled to anything from Him. Just like a grain of sand is never entitled to anything from the sun. And our relationship with God is smaller than that. We are smaller than that. Whatever we take ourselves to be. And that is why examples of Mashabri, Hanumanji, who waited for decades patiently. So we are not to get disheartened in a few minutes. Mashabri waited for decades and decades. And people came and laughed at her, sadhus came and laughed at her. Said, your master told you you are enlightened, you come with us, we are going to some other great loka. Said, some other great realm. Her master told her, come, you have moksha, you come with me. She said, no, I know in my heart that Lord Ram will come. And then alone, all the rest of her Sangha went. She stayed back alone waiting for Ram. Everybody laughed at her, sadhus laughed at her and said, how do you really know? So these stories, these historical facts, we can't really call them stories, are meant to inspire us. And thankfully, God in His mercy is not asking anyone to wait 60 years like Mashabri would. We can give it at least 2-3 years. So many of you may be studying or may have studied. Did you say within 6 months, give me my engineering degree or give me my doctorate or give me my accounting degree? No, you said, yeah, it takes time. But we feel like attainment of God, the highest, Ishwar Prapti, should be like that. The field has to be worked before the seeds can sprout and you can harvest. We are busy building other type of wealth, material wealth, wealth of worldly relationships, wealth of bodily strength, wealth of conceptual understanding. But what is the wealth that will last you beyond death? All this is going. Suppose you read the entire set of Upanishads and you memorized every Sanskrit verse. Then when you die, what will happen to you? Oh, gone. So what is that eternal wealth which is promised to us by God Himself in all His incarnations? Whether it is Ram, Krishna, Jesus, all the great sages, gurus, what is that eternal wealth which they have promised? That is the spiritual wealth. So what is the chance that each and every one of these great sages was lying? And also the incarnations also lied. It's a big conspiracy. There is no chance. Because this is from all parts of the world where there was not even communication, they could not even conspire together. You see? So, sages like Kabirji must be telling us the truth. That Avsar baar baar nahi aave, it should be a wake-up call for all of us. The opportunity does not come again and again. It should shake us out of our complacence. So how to build our spiritual wealth? Cook, 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 and then eat. And don't forget to eat. Because cooking can be very prideful. Can be. It's very sweet mostly. But it can become prideful. But that naked innocence of leaving yourself empty for God, that is important. And again, I'm not saying it's so cut and dry that, okay, now this was the cooking phase, now this is the eating phase. It's just a way to explain. Like every time you say, you take the holy name, whatever resonates with you in your heart. If you say Ram, can anyone say that they said Ram and they only cooked and didn't eat? No. It is bound to have that heart effect. So it does happen. But after a few malas of saying Ram, it's best to be with him and say, okay, Ramji, what would you have me do? What is your will for me? Would Hanumanji be Hanumanji if he just Ram 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 Ram? Ramji is saying, go get that Sanjeevani booty from there. I'm just. So, obedience to God, following His will is important. You see? Also, sometimes what may happen is that cooking becomes very enjoyable for us, which is good that it becomes enjoyable. You see? Then we lose interest in following God's will because He may take us in another direction. A bhakta may be so enjoying the rasa of bhakti, the nectar of bhakti, that if God says, find out who you are, they may say, no, just let me enjoy the nectar. A jnani may be so caught up in their inquiry that they get a reminder that, do you really love God? Have you surrendered yourself to God? They say, what kind of low spirituality is that? I'm talking about Brahma Gyan. You're talking about Shabri. So you must not get into any of these shapes. So if you look at the lives of Sita Ma, Hanumanji, all the bhaktas of Ramji, they made themselves available to him and to follow his will with a great deep love. And what is the only determinant, like we were saying last time? How much time are you intending to only be with God? It's only about God every day. And my feeling is, at least I have to say in my case, if it is not 2 hours to 4 hours every day, then my spirituality is just lip service. Just big talk about loving God, but no actual intention to be with the beloved. And I say intention because outcome is up to grace. But did we say that this time only belongs to you? We may fail, we often fail. When we decide that this time is only for you, that is when the mind comes with the most important seeming thing. But every time we get distracted and return to God saying, yes, this is the way the Maya plays. It tries to pull us away. But I return to you in my heart. I offer myself to you. in that time, you don't belong to any other relationship, you don't belong to any other commitment, you only belong to God, at least in that time. Swami Ramsubdas ji said, मैं हूँ केवल आपका, आप हो मेरे नाथ. I only belong to you. And when I only belong to you, then I can say that you are mine. Okay? But what do? We want him to be ours all the time. I said, in how many minutes in a day are you okay for God not to help you, be with you? Not even a single minute. If he leaves us, we are in big trouble. So we want him to be ours while we are busy belonging to the world, belonging to everything in Maya. So let's start with at least 2 to 4 hours where we belong only to God. No family, no work, no body. We are literally nobody. You have to be nobody. Any other questions? Yeah.
What does it mean to accept? What does it mean to live in God's will?
To live in God's will. Yes. Now, suppose that you hired a new employee. You hired a new employee, and the employee is doing some work. They're doing some work, and they've been with you 6 months, but they never actually asked you for time, and they've actually never met you and said, "Okay, Amrinder, what do you want me to do?" But they have presumed what they think you want, and they're going on doing their stuff. In your kindness, in your mercy, you may give them some points for that, but would you tell them if they asked you, was I not doing your will? You would say, but you never met me. When did you meet me to know what my will is? You see? Because sometimes my will is for you to wait like Shabri in the most innocent way, and another time my will is for you to fight like Arjun. You see? But if you just determine for yourself that this is my path, you see, it is the Arjun path or the Shabri path, then whose will are you actually following? You see? So the most important part about following God's will is to live in His presence, to be in His presence. And to be in His presence, that's what I'm saying, at least 2 to 4 hours every day, to live empty of me, empty of ourselves, empty of all other relationships, connections, topics, resolving things, all of that, and to just make yourself available to God. Do you feel that to make yourself available to God, you made yourself available, but He would not understand that you did that? Suppose could you do it wrong? Couldn't do it wrong because He is the Supreme Intelligence. He always knows every intention that we have. So in whatever way we make that moment of time for God, for Him, Lord, what would you have me do? What is your will for me? What is your hukam? You see? Then He knows your intention is to follow His hukam. You see? So I would say that for a while it's good to treat it like almost like a human relationship. To treat it, how much time have we spent with Him? How much have we understood Him? How much have we emptied ourselves of ourselves to make ourselves an instrument of His will? So, to be with Him, to ask Him for direction, to say, I won't move. Either you move me or you tell me what to do. मैं तो बैठा हूँ. Can we even make that much seeming sacrifice? Because the world will say, तुम तो बैठे रहते हो. The world will say, there's so much things to do. Your own mind will say, you're becoming a loser. You see? So, the most innocent expressions of offering ourselves to God is all that is needed. So, designate, maybe to help, designate a certain time every day where tell the world, I'm not yours, I'm God's. I don't have any relationship with you. I have no connection with you. Don't have to tell them that. That's your inner. Don't want to make it more difficult for yourself. But basically, that is your inner intention, that in my truth, I belong to God, whatever I am. In my ultimate reality, I am that. But as long as it seems like there is a separate me floating around, then that me must belong to God. So, in your most innocent expression, just sit down and say, I'm yours. Prabhu, मैं आपका हूँ. मैं आपका. Then He will move you. You see, usually it starts with Him moving you, and then you start hearing His voice. You start hearing the Atma within guiding you. That is how sages like Nisargadatta Maharaj, uneducated man, BT seller, has written the literal Bible for Advaita Vedanta called I Am That. Because the words are not his, they are the Atma's words. That's how all the scriptures have been written. The compilation of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji are all words of the Atma itself from the mouths of these great sages. Same for the Bible. So, empty of me, waiting in love and patience for God to move us and God to guide us. Start with 1 hour, make it 2 hours. The more you can make it, the better it is. And to remember that if you're facing the word was right there, this is called brain fog. So if you're facing problems in your spirituality, distractions in your spirituality, remember that to encounter that may be the best use of the 2 hours. Don't put yourself down if you had 2 hours of very distracted practice or 1 hour of very distracted practice. Know that the mind distracted you, Maya came with all its might. You see? Menka came and danced in front of you. Maybe you went for a moment, you got enamored by the beauty, but then you remembered and you returned. You see? Then you remembered again, something came up. You went and then you remembered and you returned. So in those 2 hours, St. John of the Cross said that in that time where you had a very distracted time, you actually did 100 acts of love towards God. If you were undistracted, then you would just do 1 act of love towards God. But every time you return to God, it is an act of love that you did. So beautiful. So beautiful. So then we are not to get disheartened. because some days are very difficult. There's so much happening in the world, there's so much. But that is our faith in God. Would we rather that God runs our life or that our mind runs our life? So to live in God's will is to empty ourselves of our will and to wait patiently for Him to guide us. First we have to make a call. Are we like the Kauravas or the Pandavas? One Krishna said, one of you can have my entire armies, all my resources. The other one, he said that the other side will have me, but I will not even fight. I will just be a charioteer. So can we leave all of the things of the world and say, I only want God? Then God becomes your charioteer, we become Arjuna. But if we want His things also, and we want Him also, then it's not a true spirituality. If you're living in God's presence, tell me your problem. His light is in your heart, the unperceivable light which is recognized only through the teaching of the Atma within. If He is right here, in this way, what problem can you have? And we are collecting things in the world only so that one day we won't have a problem. It's only basically that, no? I should have enough. I should have enough. But in Maya, it is never enough. So there comes a moment, and may this be the moment, where you say, nothing, I want nothing except you. Even if you feel like it's partly lip service right now, just make that commitment. See, because these things pick up momentum of their own. Just like our distracting thoughts then pick up momentum of distraction, our thoughts which bring us, that's why I said the pointer is valuable if it takes you towards God. See? So just like kusang leads to more kusang, satsang leads to more satsang. And it is your inward bad company or good company that is important. If you keep the company of godly things inside, then godliness will grow. If you keep the company of worldly things inside, then worldly things will go, Mayavi things will go. What is your temple full of? What is your heart temple full of? How many photos of you and how many photos of God? You know what I mean by photos? How much are you filling yourself with me? And how much are you filling yourself with God? And if you want God to live there, suppose you wanted, it's strange that sometimes it does happen in this world. Suppose you had a satsang hall where there was nothing about God, just photos of Ananta everywhere. Just Ananta. And that is stupidity. So your heart, your inner temple is what? Is it obsessed with me? Clean up. Clean up before it's too late. Yeah? Because this world play is going to go soon. It seems like there's a lot of time, but there isn't. Yes.
Well, it's related to that, what you said. Can there be a problem when God's presence is there?
Can we?
can there be a problem when God's presence is there? Presence, I'm not sure, but like the other day, I noticed, so I felt I was trying to follow God's will. And in that process, I was getting late to Satsang.
Getting late.
To Satsang. And I was feeling like agitated, like. And
So
also,
God was making you late for satsang.
I felt that, yeah.
How-
I could be deluded, but
It's possible.
yeah, but I also try to look at it there, like the whole point of
Like
satsang
you were
is
feeling that you just want to sit, you don't want to move, like you don't want to.
no, it was how late I left. I was in my room, then something happened, then not yet, not leave.
No, no,
Right.
what is the God's will part?
God's will part is like I could have booked an Uber, I could have taken some auto, paid something and reached, but somehow I didn't feel
While you were in God's presence,
presence. I don't know.
while your intention was to be with God, all these things happened. Is that what you mean?
Like I felt I was connected to God and I was just trusting.
You felt you were connected. That's
And I
fine.
just but that wasn't enough. Like I felt like are you getting what I'm saying? I'm saying there was a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the presence, but
No,
something
it-
related to it.
If you were connected to God, you were already in satsang.
This is what I told myself, but I still felt something. It didn't really feel that way.
Because you were doubting your connection, or
I don't
what
know.
is satsang for? There's nothing so great in this body, especially these days, for anyone to see. No? So, satsang is so that we can gather together and come into the company of God's presence, to the Atma's presence. So, if you feel like you are living in that way, of course, especially on this topic, we have to be very careful. Because many times, what does the mind want more than anything? To cut us out from our teacher's view and the teacher's view from us. So it wants that more than anything else. And says, okay, now once the support of Ananta is gone, then I will deal with him, I will sort him out. Yeah? But once we are together, not saying from any place of arrogance, but if we are together, then it's much more difficult for Maya to play that game. So on this topic, you have to be really careful. But if you're clear in your heart that you're spending that time in God's presence and you're getting half an hour late for satsang, it's fine.
But it feels more intense in satsang, that connection.
Then come, then come on time. Because this is the topic in which you have to be really careful of Maya's trickery. When Maya played like that woman for Naradji, distracting him, that woman was not saying, I'm going to make you forget about Krishna. She was not saying, I'm going to attack your spirituality and make you forget about it. She was just like a hypnotic forgetfulness come, in which it feeds you messaging. So you have to be really careful where it is coming from. It's okay, that is gone. So leave that. You can't do a postmortem. Like there's no way you can go back into that moment and say, was I really in God's presence? You just have to be in this moment in God's presence. Very importantly, Saint Teresa of Avila said, let nothing disturb you. Let nothing disturb you.
I thought it was just the presence itself that doesn't let you
No,
get
no,
disturbed.
but I'm saying that right now, if this topic is disturbing you, leave it. Let nothing disturb you is the same as don't believe your next thought, but it sounds more palatable. So let's go with that. Don't believe your next thought can sound like a very difficult thing to do. Thank you. I met a butcher today in the guy's in the guise of a masseuse or a physiotherapist. They wrongly advertise. I should put Google review for me. But I'm just kidding. He told me that unless he does at this much intensity, no benefit will come to the body. So it's fine. But I told him, you have patients who have this condition and all. Like, no, not really. Something. I was saying that, sorry, slight digression, but there's something called a nerve conduction study, which I came back and reported is the most painful thing a human can endure. And then some of you said that actually it's not that much. And I didn't realize at that time it's what the body is going through makes the pain levels feel so much more. But today's was 5 times more than that.
Father, do you want to tell them about fibromyalgia? Because they wonder.
Yeah, fibromyalgia is the label. I don't know. I know it's a big black box sort of label. Most people don't believe there's such a thing. Most doctors don't believe there's such a thing. But I know that like I was going through some needle thing and I've done that in the past and it seemed absolutely fine. But that needle felt like it's so painful that I lost consciousness and went to Manipal. Now all doctors between Bangalore and Pune have tested every organ of the body and they're not by God's grace found anything big wrong with any of the organs. And yet there is so much pain, stiffness, fatigue, all of that, that we don't have to use a label fibromyalgia, but if it's a quick way to explain what is happening, then that's what it is.
Sounds like
I had that feeling. I felt very happy about this one fact that when I read her autobiography and I feel very, very close to her in my heart. I feel somewhere that if she would just adopt me, then that is enough. So when I read her autobiography and I read even Interior Castle, the kind of references she makes to pain in the body seem very similar. So that at least gives me some hope. Yes, sir.
she said Saint Joseph.
Saint Joseph. That's true. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. In fact, it's a beautiful story. And in India also we say that we can pray to Nanji or Yashodama or Devaki ji. We can pray to all of them because God is very stable in his nature. And when he came as a child as Krishna, and she talked about Saint Joseph. So as Krishna, he will always listen to his parents. And I don't know how much he listened to Yashodama, but so it's a beautiful way to pray, that your son was such an obedient child, and I pray to you to seek your intercession. It's beautiful. It is this innocence, no? To the educated spiritual mind, it sounds like rubbish. I mean, like, what are you saying? But if you dive into it, it's very beautiful. Like, where is we can be pretty certain. Let's take, for example, sage Tulsidas ji merged into Lord Ram. That is, if there's a guarantee about anything, we can guarantee that this happened. So, but do you feel like in this merging that they would lose the awareness of the time that they spent here, or lose awareness of who is remembering them right now? It's not a merging into dissolution. It's like finding your true home and becoming a part of that, becoming a part of the body. So I have full faith that all the sages of the past, if you remember them, they listen to you, they hear you. Because time and space is not a thing for them anymore. They are with God. So when we invoke sages, when we invoke Tulsidaji, Mirama, she's with us, she's hearing us, and she's with God. Saint Teresa of Avila, Saint John of the Cross, all of them. Saint Therese of Lisieux. And they are available to us to teach us. I mean, if this sounds too much for today, I think you can, don't worry about it too much. But if you really contemplate this, you will see that a dissolution cannot be that now you are in time and space and all the past you have forgotten. It's not true. Things that in the world we call clairvoyance and all of these things are naturally with them because they are with God. So whichever sage resonates with you in your heart, you can ask them for help at any time. All of this needs simple innocence. And we're not getting into Catholics versus Protestants and all of those debates. Whatever is your faith, you follow that. But I'm just telling you that for me it is impossible that Tulsidas Ji does not see who is remembering him right now. Then how is Hanuman Ji aware of it? Both are with God. Nanaji is like you keep praying to Nanaji that he's like, I'm merged into God, why are you calling me? Can't be that way. Yeah, the simplest way to look at it is that God encourages our faith. So if this helps our faith, He makes it so. And if we get too much of our intellect into it, then it seems far-fetched. If it is rational, we don't need faith. So what is the difference between blind faith and true faith? True faith is that which you get from inner insight, heart inside. Blind faith is that which is mostly because of fear and mental oppression. So that is superstition. So you have to be true to your heart. So if you say, any of you say, but my heart says it's different, then you have to go with that. But God is making sure of one thing, that everything I scoffed at when I was younger, now I have faith. Almost everything. More and more will also be shown, I'm sure. That everything that I found absurd and ludicrous and illogical and stupid, that I scoffed at, now I feel the value in that. And what do you think about our God? That we are, in our faith, we are praying to Tulsidas Ji and he says, no, he is no longer there, I'm not going to listen to you. No. He's not that unkind. So it is said, so let's take a simple example of that. It is said, and Jesus also said that, but Hanumanji has said that anytime anybody, especially in a gathering of a few, 3 or more, gathers and remembers him, or Lord Ram, then he also joins us. What do you feel about that? There's something in Hindi they say, no? I don't know the exact, like as is your faith, such is your experience. Huh? Ah, it's in the Gita. What other source can we want? Mike to Jyotika.
Father, I was just wondering about the rasa of the bhakta and nididhyasana.
The
Like the
Nididhyasana,
yeah,
yes.
that like when I'm feeling the sweetness in my heart, that is also rasa, no? Like in a sense, because I'm praying, but also at the same time there's a receiving of.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell the difference.
So it's subtle, it's quite subtle. So sometimes we may enjoy a bhajan like a piece of music. So we just enjoy the piece of music, so the ananda is coming or the rasa is coming. Sometimes when we hear a bhajan, the music may not be that great, the singing may be very raw, but you feel like it's pulling at your devotion, it's tugging at your heartstrings. So you feel that bhajan ananda. See? Sometimes the words of the bhajan lead you into that inside, that holy place we've been talking about, where you're in that unnameable, unspeakable place, and that where there is no taste which we can testify to, but it is the highest taste. So that can also be like Brahmananda. So that's why with Ananda it's very confusing. Sometimes, so we have to be careful of the objective Ananda and any attachment to that. But the joy of God's presence, the bliss of God's presence, or the bliss of the Nirguna bliss, which is like comparable to the bliss of sleep. You may be hearing the most pleasant music or watching the most pleasant things in the world, but when sleep comes, like Papaji said, when sleep comes, you want to sleep, you want to leave that. Papaji said, you could be in the arms of your beloved on your wedding night, you see, but when sleep comes, you just want to sleep even then. But the true determinant of what we must do is what is God's will for us. We cannot be the headmaster of our spirituality. The Atma has to be the headmaster of our spirituality. We are in the Gurukul of the Sadguru Atma. Okay, we'll call it today. Thank you. just want to say something about this apparent condition of the body, so you don't feel bad for me. Because there's actually nothing to feel bad for, because really the intention and the feeling here is of more and more gratitude, because I feel like my prayer life has deepened so much in this process. My surrender to God has deepened so much in this process, and I'm so grateful that God sent this body this, because it's really, really good. It's not pleasant, not fun, but I feel like this is really drawing me more in love with Him, and building on my prayer life, my kindness, my compassion. All of those things are being helped in the process. So know that I'm grateful and I'm not lamenting it at all. It reminded me when I was telling you about the bhajans which don't necessarily sound good. So my favorite bhajan right now is from Swami Ram Sukdas ji. I'll just play it for all of you.
भाई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम जी को भरोसो भाई को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो अरे जे तू राखे राम भरोसो जे तू राखे राम भरोसो वे कमी नहीं राखे काही रे ओ नहीं राखे काही रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम जी अरे राख भरोसो भाई रे भाई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई राम जी अरे कीड़ी को कण देत राम जी कीड़ी को अरे हाथी मन भर खाई रे हाथी अनड़ पंख आकाश उड़त है अनड़ अरे वाको चूण चुगाई रे वाको चूण चुगाई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम जे तू राखे राम भरोसो जे तू राखे राम भरोसो वे कमी नहीं राखे काही रे कमी काली रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई ओ राम जी अजगर उड़तन चलत धरणी पर अजगर अजगर उड़त न चलत धरणी पर अजगर चोंच मोड़ नहीं खाई रे ताको भरण करे भूधरियो ताको वो पलक नहीं बिसराई रे पल बिसराई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम जी जे तू राखे राम भरोसो जे तू वे कमी नहीं राखे काई रे कमी काई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे अरे प्रभु जी को जम के द्वारे मैं नहीं जाऊं जम के हाँ जम के द्वारे मैं नहीं जाऊं जम के यह मेरे मन भाई रे हरि जी को छोड़ जगत को जाचे हरि जी अरे प्रभु जी को छोड़ जगत को जाचे प्रभु अरे लाजत त्रिभुवन राई रे लाज त्रिभुवन राई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम पूरत राम उदर भर सबको पूरत या में फरकन राई रे ओ कहत कबीर सुनो भाई साधो कहत अरे राम जी ने लाज बढ़ाई रे हरि जी राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम अरे जे तू राखे राम भरोसो वे कमी नहीं राखे काई रे काई रे राम जी को राख भरोसो भाई रे राम राख भरोसो
So we can end with this, Father. Also share with. So this is when Bharatji is with whole Ayodhya people and all the queens going to see Ram and
Trying
trying
to
to
stop
find
him.
Ram. No, trying to find Ram and bring him back, Ramji. So that's where he crosses Prayagraj, and at Triveni he met Rishi Bharadwaj there. And all the time he is full of guilt that his Lord Ram and Sitaji and Lakshmanji have to face all the difficulty just because of him, And then there are various ways that he is praying to everyone. And one of the prayers says, Father, I will talk directly in Hindi. अगर स्वयं श्री रामचंद्र जी भी भले मुझे कुटिल समझे और लोग मुझे गुरुद्रोह तथा स्वामी द्रोह भी भले कहें, स्वामी द्रोही भी भले कहे, पर श्री राम सीताराम जी के चरणों में मेरा प्रेम आपकी कृपा से दिन दिन बढ़ता रहे. So even if himself Sri Ram thinks that I am crook, but I still want to increase my love in his feet, Father. So I don't know what level of prayer is this, Father.